Hiya, happy Monday, welcome back. Mixed Media Monday we're going to call this one. So this is a great canvas that we're going to do using lots and lots of different textures, get lots of messy bits all over the place and have a really fun time. I'm going to explain how I achieved different elements to it and show you different products that you can use. Okay, so first of all we're starting off with one of my favourites all-time things, which is structure paste. Now you have your canvas, which is got a lovely big canvas here. Now I'm going to use a stencil and the structure paste on it, and one of the things that I love about structure paste is you're going to get so much texture going on. Okay, so if I take this off, you can see that I've got like a gritty texture with this one. You can get all different structure paste. This one is the Crafty Devils. This is one that I love as well, which is the Pretty Gets Gritty thick texture paste. Really lovely and thick, that one. But you can get thinner textures as well. You can get marble mediums. You can get like gritty ones, anything you want. Right, so I've got, I believe this is a Stamperia stencil. And what I'm going to do is, I never pop the stencil there and just do it. But what I like to do it with my stencils is to have them so they're coming off at the side. I'm going to concentrate my main elements down the centre. So if you think about your composition, then you know that down the centre is going to be where I'm going to put mine. So have a think about where your composition is, which means that I've got little areas at the sides here that I still want a little bit of interest to, but don't want to overcomplicate it. Right, so just go over there. Try not to lift your stencil, but I really don't worry about that, because all I'm doing is I'm not worried about so much as is all of my stencil covered? Have I got underneath it? I'm worried, more worried, if you like, about achieving some texture. So that's what I want to do. So I'm holding my stencil down. You can lay it in place if you want to, but when you start to do mixed media, it really frees your mind. So you'll be able to do things like this and then not worry whether you've gone underneath or not. See, that's where I went underneath, but this just a thicker bit of texture. Love it. So I'm just going to move and take my stencil at a completely different angle. And let's take some paste through there. So try and keep your spatula just tilted slightly, so that if you are going to go under the stencil, it tends to be because it's too flat. So just keep it just tilted slightly. You could use the bigger palettes as well, so you've got like the longer palettes if you want to. But as I say, I'm just wanting to get some texture on here. Okay, so let's lift that off. Lovely deep stencils as well, these. Let's move that away, and let's bring in another one just at the bottom here. Again in a different direction, and having just a little bit more going on here. So through my stencil, really adding texture to this canvas. And then what I tend to do once I've finished with my stencil, and that would need to be washed as soon as possible. I'm just going to pop that to one side. Then I've got this left on, so what I tend to do is then just take it and scrape around the edges of here, just so that it brings the canvas just in a little bit. And all I'm doing is cleaning off the spatula, but it brings in some texture to the edges, and kind of, it doesn't look then so clean and that you're just trying to pop a stencil on the side. It kind of adds the texture as you go. I might even add a little bit more there, and that can go all over. So whatever you want to do, that can go all over. Okay, so let's pop the lid back on. Always pop the lids back straight onto your texture paste because they will dry. Let's pop that into a little bit of water. Now, I'm going to show you some other textures that I'm going to add onto here. And we're going to cover cream pastes. cream paste is really, really popular. It's by Stamperia, and it's for using in your sort of like shallow moulds. So I'll show you how you pop it into the mould. So I've got little bits left of this other one. What I love about this is you can rip it and tear it, and really, really gives a lovely effect. So all you're going to do is, if I show you the mould first of all as well, let's just go around the edge there. So it's a really lovely, it's a bit like shaving cream texture. Okay, so if I show you the mould, it's very, very shallow. Okay, so the little indentations are quite shallow. With this cream paste, if you put it on too thickly, it will just take a really long time to set and to dry. So the idea is to use it in the shallower moulds, or if you are going to use it in the thicker moulds, which you wouldn't do really because you're just using up your paste. But what I do is I fill those indentations first of all, and don't leave too much on this top side. So just going through, I'll just do part of this for you. So going through, covering as much as you want to cover. So all of my little indentations are done. Doesn't matter if they're not perfect, because this is on a mixed media canvas, and this again, adding texture, different ways to add texture. So I've got that. Then what you do, you can wait for that to dry and then add another layer, or you can just put just a thin layer over the top, so that then when you pull it off, it will come off in like the one sheet or part of a sheet. Okay, so you just want a little bit like that, nothing too thick. Okay, best time to do this is to do it just before you go to bed, and then leave it overnight, and that will set nicely. And then if I bring over the one that I did, and I've been tearing this one up. Oh, look, we've got a bit of cream paste there, that's good. Let's add that. There. So, you see how you get this texture, and it's like, it feels like rubber, but it's really, really good. And look at all of the indentations, how they've come out. So what I'm going to do is, I don't want that to be straight, so I'm really going to pull those apart like that. So I've got really, really scraggy edges. Let's pop those just to the side for the moment, like that. And then I'm going to pick out the different bits that I want. Now you notice I'm not worrying about drying off the texture paste yet, because I'm going to just add everything I want to add first, and then when I get to the gesso part, that's when it needs to be dried. Okay, so we've got this lovely part here, so I'm going to actually bring that down to there. And then to get this onto my canvas, I'm going to take my fabulous gel medium. This is a monster of a pot. It's a litre pot, and it's the Amsterdam gel medium. Okay, so pop a little bit on my canvas, pop a little bit onto here, and I'm imagining the bits that I'm going to have going down the centre there. So I just want that popping out of the centre, just like that. And it glues on beautifully. So now I'll pick up another piece of this, and I'm going to have some wording perhaps coming over this side. So again, just pop in here, like that. And then some more. You could, if you pull this off really, really carefully, then you'll be able to distinguish what some of the words are. I'm not worried, because it's not the words I want to see, it's just the texture. Okay, just there. And then we've got a little paintbrush on there. The theme I'm going for is like a steampunk come artist canvas. Okay, so you can add as much of this as you want to. So there, and I'm going to have a little bit perhaps up there. Okay, so again, as I say, you can add as much of that as you want to. Then we're going to look at different clays. So I'm just gently going to lift that up away just for 1 second, and then I'm going to bring in some different clays. Because when I love to use moulds, and I think that if you're using moulds, it's really nice to know the type of clay that you can use. Okay, So I'm going to bring in one of these trays. This is a Stamperium mould. It's got some absolutely gorgeous pieces in there. And I'm going to bring in, first of all, our soft clay. This is a Stamperia clay. It's a white clay and it's an air dry clay. And it's really, really quite sort of like spongy. So just opening it up. Make sure you've got something like some cling film to wrap around it or an airtight bag or box. But it's kind of like you've left like your cream out on your plate, if you like, and it kind of goes like that. It's a bit like squidgy, but fibery in the same like way. So what I'm going to do is just roll a little bit up here, and then I'm just going to push into my mould. Now, the mould you could like put a little bit of dusting onto your mould if you want to, some corn flour or something like that. But again, I'm not too worried about the actual ending element, if you like, because this is a canvas that's all about texture and building up layers and just showing how you can use basically anything you want to use, you know, with all sorts of different mediums on one canvas. Okay, so I'm just popping that into the mould, just like that. Just popping it away from the side as well. If you want to, you can grab a little, oh sorry, I'm just trying to think what it is. Your little, what do they call it? Your rolling pin. There we go. And with the rolling pin, what you would do is you would just roll over the top of that just to flatten the back down and take off any excess of your clay. Okay, now I'm going to just go up to that point with this. I'm not going to have that part on there. Just pushing in like that. And then what you need to do is just wipe from the sides, just like that. Okay. If you want to, you can just let that go a little bit drier before you start to move it. But if you can see that I'm just pushing underneath this, and this is what I love about these, and kind of just shifting and then take it out. And that's what I love about the air dry clay. It's so easy to use. So let me just show you that. I'm going to pop that just on a piece of kitchen towel to one side, because with the air dry clay, what it's going to do is it's now going to release all of the moisture that's in the clay in order for that to dry. But what you can do, if you wanted to shape it around a bottle, if that's what you're going to use, you can do that as well. So that's one of the clays. Another of the clays, again, it's an air dry one, but it's more of a clayey clay, if you like. It's more of one that really does look like a clay. So let me take a little bit. So this is wetter, can you see? And it is a bit more like the traditional clay. So again, this one will take just a little bit longer to dry than the others, but it's, you know, a really good one as well. So I think if you are a watcher of the 7 Day Savers on the craft store, you will have seen this particular one come up, because I use lots and lots and lots of moulds in my artwork. I grabbed this because it's a really good one. Just squish that in. I'm not being too fussy or delicate with it. I just really want an impression. Okay, so again, just give that a little bit of a movement. It's quite like sticky, this one. So if you want to pop some corn flour down first, then fine. But again, I'm quite happy just to go with it. And there we go. Pop that one to one side. Now the third clay that I want to show you is this one, which is the Pentart one, and it's a 2-part system. So you have a powder and you have the actual liquid. So with the powder, you get this little cup with it. So let's just, where did my scissors go? There we go, just get my scissors. Just gonna open the edge there. So it tells me on the pot that it's 2 parts of the powder to 1 part of my liquid. So I'm going to take that to 10 ml of powder, which means I'll need 5 ml of my liquid. So I'm doing my powder first so that it doesn't stick when I'm using the liquid. Put that on there. Now I'm going to do 5 ml of the liquid, just like that. Really easy to do. Pop that in. Okay, now this, once it's set, I think it's like almost impossible to break the piece. So it's a really, really good one. And as you can see, it's like more of like a wet pouring clay than anything else. Now I use, also I use resin, and I do use wet pouring clays as well. With the finished piece that I'm gonna, colour, I will show you, or I'll tell you which I used. So I've only mixed up a tiny, tiny little bit here. We'll put it into, should we put it into the cat? There we go. Let's pour it into this cat. Now if I do that, I will check at the end to see if this is set, because it normally takes, or it can come out the mould within about half an hour. So it may not be ready, but we can have a look at it anyway. There we go. Just pop that in. That's turned out to be a perfect amount. There we go. Pop that to one side and pop there. So that's the different clays that we can use. So I'm going to bring this back in, and then we're going to use some of the clays that we actually used. Let's pop that there. And have them in mould form. There we go. Leave that out. There we go. Okay. So let's pop our canvas down. So I've got all sorts of different moulds here. Now this was using the one that I had here, which were the little suitcases together, like that. So that's how it dries. And this one was from a wet clay, a wet pouring clay. And I have this one, which was some resin which I had dusted in. It was just because if I overdo my resin, what I tend to do is then have another mould there so I can pour it in and then I can use it later, so I'm not wasting any resin. Okay, so we've got some bigger pieces here. I'm just going to pop to the side on here first, and we're going to do some layering up. So we have some wings. See, I've got resin stuck in there, but it doesn't matter. I like it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to position my wings here. Now the piece that I'm going to colour will be slightly different because I've probably used slightly different of moulds, and the wings I know are different. I've used some resin resin for my wings in my other piece. But I'm going to pop that there like that, and then I'm just going to layer on different pieces to see what I would like to use. So we've got, I want to try and elongate my piece just down here. So that is quite fussy next to that one, so I'm going to have that one perhaps lower down, and then my paintbrushes will come in here, and I have a heart which will pop onto there. And then we have all sorts of different things. Just so that you know as well, if you're trying to balance some of your pieces, then a good thing is to keep these little wooden things, which are the stretchers from your canvas, because then you can pop stuff underneath as well. And that will help it lift up and not be sort of like bent in. Okay, so let's take this. So I'll keep adding things as we go. What I love about using the gel medium as well is your gel medium will take time to dry, which means that you can move things about. So if you decide that's not where you wanted something, then it can be moved. I'm putting a nice bit of gel medium on here because I want this to really adhere to the canvas. Okay, Also, what I've found is if you do use a clay that's a wet pouring clay and you take it out too soon, you may snap bits of your thing off. I know I did one at home and it got damaged, so I used it as still putting it together, but then I used it as a shatter piece and it ended up looking really, really nice. So even if you do break some of your moulds, don't be frightened to still use them. Okay, so let's have that there. And I want some bits coming out, so I've got some other little cogs here. I've got a paintbrush and I've got another heart, so let's use the heart. This is where I start to get all messy with my gel medium. So I've got that coming here. Then I'm going to start using some of my cogs. And what I love is you can have different depths as well, so it's up to you how big the depth of your different pieces are. So I'm going to have that come in there. And then this is going to position here like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a couple of these wooden ones and I'm going to lay them there because you won't see them. Just so I'm getting a roughly the same height as some of the moulds that I'm going to be using. And taking some gel medium onto this piece. A nice lot of gel medium. Okay, so position, this can go move down a little bit more. Have that positioned there, like that. So I've then got the antler here, so that can come in here. So although I'm going down the middle, I want bits jotted out at the sides. So that can come there like that. Then I'm going to place that one there. Like that. So I'm layering as well. I want lots of nice layers. I don't want everything flat. So that's going to be there like that, just a slightly different angle. And then I can use this one can be, shall I use it? No, I'm not going to use that one. I don't need to use that one. And I've got Dream Big. I love the moulds that come from Stamperia because, or Pentart, because the image, the words on them are really good. So the Dream Big is really quite nice. So I could have that. Actually, I'm going to have that coming like that. Okay. Now I like to use all sorts of different things. So here I've got some Stamperia, and they are the whiteboard or chipboard little elements here. And as I say, I like things coming sort of like out at the sides as well. But I'm not going to waste them, so I'm going to just cut these in half so that they can be used in two different places. So popping some gel medium on. I'm going to have that come in there. Move that one out a little bit. Okay. And then this one is going to be coming. I think we can use that just. Let's move that one up. Like that. And then let's put our little paintbrush on. So that can come just at the side. Yeah, like that. So have a little play, and then when you're happy, stick it down. Okay, so we've got a nice little thing going on here, haven't we? We've got a nice little composition that's flowing down the middle. You can elongate it a little bit more if you wanted to. Entirely up to you. I mean, this one is beautiful. You could have that coming up here like that, couldn't you? In actual fact, I know that's still drying, but I'm going to pop that on there because it can dry on the canvas. I've done this before. If you're a little bit frightened, don't do it. But I have done it when it's been wet before, and it's been perfectly fine because that's now going to dry anyway. There, like that. Okay, so I'm going to move this canvas. I'm going to bring in a lovely canvas that we've already got done, because what you now do is you would white gesso all over it, because I want everything to be a white base so that I can then start to decorate. Okay, so let's move this one away, like that. And then let's bring in the one that I've prepared. So as I say, it's going to have different elements on it, but it's the same principle. I've used different stencils. I've got slightly bigger wings, but we've got the kind of the similar elements going on here. And I've covered it, as I say, with the white gesso. Right, so we can now kind of look at where we want to go colour-wise and what elements we want to use on there. So I've got some of the Stamperia rice papers, which I absolutely love. So I'm going to be popping those on, but I'm not going to be popping them on as like the whole element. I'm going to do strips on my canvas. And I am doing this before I'm going to add some spray colour, because I don't mind if the sprays catch the rice paper, because then to me that's going to really flow in nicely. So I'm going to take a brush, let's clean that off, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my rice paper and I'm going to just drizzle my water just down the rice paper. The reason I do this is so that I can tear off different bits that I want to use. And let's get those frames going in there as well. And I'm also going to get in some of the brushes. So really just drizzling that down. And if I show you the back, you'll see that it's just soaked through so that I can pull away. So now I can pull away from the fibres of the rice paper. If you haven't used rice paper before, give it a go. One of my favourite ever things to use. It really is. Absolutely love it. So let's just pull that away. So that bit I haven't got water on. You can see it's harder to tear. You can still tear it, but it's a little bit harder to tear. So let's take some of these elements out. And then we'll decide where we're going to use them. I don't want any straight edges. And what I love about the rice paper is these fibres, they kind of blend away. So they're like they've blended into the canvas. Okay, let's take these pieces. Yeah, just a little bit more on the edge there I want off. That's it. Okay, another thing about rice paper is when you pop it on with your gel medium, it then will cling to the things that you've actually popped on. So for instance, if I wanted to go over here with the rice paper, I'm going to have that a little bit thinner actually, then it's going to cling to all of the different moulds and everything that I've popped on there. So I'm going to just pop some gel medium on. If you're looking for one particular glue that will do all, gel medium is a very good thing. All glues have their places and all glues do different things, but the gel medium I find does lots of different things. So if there is a glue, as I say, that you can want to go for, then go for that. So what I've done is I've popped gel medium on here. I put gel medium onto my rice paper. I'm just going to layer that over there. So it's not flat onto my canvas, but you see what happens here. It will actually mould around everything. So I can pop it down like that and it gives a really, really beautiful effect. And make sure it's all down so it doesn't lift up when it dries. Okay, so it's moulded around really nicely. I want a piece here because as I was imagining my canvas, I wanted quite a nice stretched piece here. So let me just take a little bit out of there. And let's add some gel medium down the edge here. Hope you're enjoying this. Hope you're getting messy, crafting along with me. That'd be great. If there's anything that you want to see in future Make It Mondays, then please let us know because we can cover whatever you'd like us to cover. Then I'm going to pop that just in here, like that. And again, I don't think I put any gel medium on the back of the paper. That's okay. We'll just do it now as it's here. And let's pop that. So it's now going around my brush. And I just love this effect. And even those ones where we did the cream paste, you see that brush is coming out there as well. Okay, so really tightly around there, tightly into there. And then over here, and it's also going over my word mould that I have, which is great. I love that. Really good. Just in there like that. So really giving it a nice flattening piece. So now looking at that, I think that I may just have one more piece just up here like there. So add in some gel medium. Like that, and then we can have that going just over our wing, just like that. You just lose yourself, don't you, when you're doing some nice arty pieces, and any crafting as well. It really is a nice way to lose yourself and relax. There we are. So there, so we've got some arranged quite nicely there. So let's pop that back, and now we're going to start to add a little bit of colour. So I'm going to use some amazing sprays. These are the Pretty Gets Gritty amazing sprays. All sorts of colours. So I'm looking here at my papers because I don't want to have them disappear completely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose colours that are going to complement. So we've got a rose gold here. We have gold dust, I don't want to use that one. We have this one, which is rust. It's one of my favourites. And I want to bring in a little bit of other colour. Nothing too bright. Rustic rose. Let's go for that. And if it's too dark, then we can lighten up as well. So with these amazing sprays, there's metallic and mica in them, sits at the bottom. So give them a nice little twist like this so that they all twist in and mix in nicely. There we go. And then that one. I'm probably going to grab some pearl or something just to mix it in a little bit more. But I'm just going to take a little bit of heat just so I can go over a little bit. I'm not that worried, but I just want to make sure they just seal down together. Okay, just like that. Now with these boards as well, you could add fabrics, you could add MDF, you could add whatever you like. It will take everything. Right, so let's start with our rust. And let's pop a little bit just here. And then decide where you want it to fall on your canvas. The further away, the lighter your splats will be, if you like. So let's now take the rustic rose. There, a little bit over here. And just adding in some colour. And then I'm going to take my rose gold. Rose gold is going to tone it down just a tad. So a little bit over of where I've been. My stopper's stopped. So let me switch to my other gold. You should really clean these once you've finished with them, which I'm really, really naughty and I don't do. So let's add some gold. So this is going to tone the other colours down a little bit, because what I'm doing is I'm spreading that colour out and I'm letting that go into all of these different areas here that we've got. So you could do this with paints, and then you could use a water spray as well. So I think I want to add something like, let me see, I'm going to add a little bit of emerald haze into here, a little bit of green going, and then add on your green. So I'm kind of starting to pick out some of the colours that's in that rice paper, like that. And what I want to do is I want to make sure that, there's some gold dust as well, make sure that I'm looking at the bits that I want a little bit darker as well. So if I go in for something like Nightfall, and I'm going to tuck Nightfall sort of down in here, so you've got your shadow come in and your lower lights come in, just like that. Okay, so we've got some light highlights and lowlights going. If we move this, they will really trickle into each other, just like that. Okay, and then I'm going to just get my heat gun, I'm going to dry it off a little bit, and then I can show you how we're going to tone the colour down just a little bit more. And we can see then the finishing touches. As I say, what I absolutely love about doing canvases like this is because of all the texture that you've got going on here, it really, really, really does like let your imagination run. I'm just going to bring in a brush here. So where I've got some of my spray, I want to make sure that it's kind of touching the edges here as well. So you can move your sprays about, just like that. You could put them on with a brush if you wanted to, but I like the randomness of sprays, I really do. So I think that that would just, now you can see the metallic coming out here now in these different pieces. Let me do a bit here and then you'll be able to see the metallic side really, really coming out. And here as well. I love how these dry. I would normally let them dry naturally and then come back to do the next part, but I doubt if you'll want to just hold on for a couple of hours while it dries, eh? So really doing, you can see all of the metallics start to shimmer now and it's absolutely beautiful. So really just wiping those. And if you have a bit where you think, oh, I think I've got a bit too much, you can dab off as well while it's still wet. And these are all water-based, so anything that you want to do, you can, you can move them, you can pop them elsewhere, you can, just really, really go for it. Okay. So it's really nice and bright, and you could leave it like that if you wanted to, but we like to use really different things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my white gesso, because I want to just tone down just a little bit these bits here. So just give my white gesso a stir. This is a new one, so I need to stir it in a little bit. And this is a Pretty Gets Gritty one. Okay, so really nice and thick one, this one. Okay, so stir that in more. Like that. Okay, so taking my brush, I'm just going to just go over, and you see how now some of these things are popping through. I'm not going to do too much of it. I just want a little pop, just so it kind of brings out some of the elements and knocks back some of the colour. Okay. I love that on the canvas as well. I love that effect it gives. It's like a distressed look, but it really is effective. Wipe off. I only want a little bit of gesso while I'm doing this. So this is why you need to have it to dry in, because you don't want to really move your colour as such. You just want to tone it. So it's much better if you can have it as dry as possible, but we're okay, that's working nicely. So let me see, where did I put my lid? There. Let's pop that on. Now I'm going to clean off my brush, and then I'm going to grab one of these sparkling gels. Now with the sparkling gel, they're going to sparkle obviously, but they are really, really good for adding some highlights. So I've gone a little bit darker now. There goes my clay. Did you get this in your room, in your craft room? I've got things all over the place, but it's, you know, that's how we all are, isn't it? So pop in a little bit just like that on there. I can even just take a little bit off of my piece there, and I just want to add a little bit of sparkle. Now you could do this with your finger as well if you wanted to. I'm just adding just touches. I want to bring like the edge of the canvas and the edge of these feathers in, so they're not just white, you know, white things that hang on the edge there. They are part of the canvas, and I want to just edge them so that you can see that they fit in with the edge of the canvas. Really, really, really sparing. You can go as dark as you want to. Don't be frightened. If you do this and you get to the end and you're like, I really, really don't like that colour, then all you need to do is gesso back over once it's all dry. Gesso back over with your white gesso or even a black gesso. You see how now we're bringing kind of a background effect in with the brown. Now there, I've gone a little bit heavy-handed, so I've got a wet wipe here. Just going to pat that out a little bit, because I don't want that to be so heavy. There. Okay. And then just over my elements here. This is what I love about these moulds. Look at the texture that you get. Really, really nice. And it really doesn't matter what moulds you use, because what we're going for is we're going for textures rather than a theme, to be honest, even though I've kept my theme as like arty and steampunky. Steampunk doesn't have to be all dark colours. And it's an expression of, you know, what you want to achieve. In the end, it's your piece of artwork. It's you that needs to be happy with it. So, again, just a little bit heavy on there. Just tone that down just a bit, like that. And then just this last piece over here, just like that. So now we're really bringing the eye into the centre here. And then this is where we can just flip over. Now you can do this with waxes as well. I just want to bring those wings in because the elements on the wings are really, really beautiful. I think they were from my stash, so they were already made up. I didn't make those moulds. Okay, so just like that. And then the last thing I want to do, make sure you put your top back onto your sparkle gel so that it doesn't dry, is I want to just take my white gesso again and dry off my brush. I've still got a little bit of brown on there, but not to worry. Take my gesso again, and just where I want to just go not so dark, going in the direction that I went with the brown, but just toning it slightly. That just tones in a little bit better, like that. Then all that remains to be done is to pick a colour that you wanted to use on here. Now I'm going to actually go for my white gesso, because I don't want to put any more colour on top. I just want my gesso to be the main focus. So, as in like my splat bits that I'm going to do next. So I'm going to take a couple of brushes and let's make sure I've got one that's reasonably clean and quite a thin one as well. I'm going to take some of my gesso. You can water this down, but what my one, because it's a new one, it's quite fluid. So put a little bit on, and then all you're going to do is you're going to have bigger splats, smaller splats, but it kind of just finishes it off, just like that. Probably going to end up with splats all over me as well, but there we go. Okay, so you can keep going, you can keep adding layers and layers and layers of different colour if you want to, but it gives you an idea of bringing in all your different mixed media pieces and really, really just going for it and having a play. So that is our mixed media for today, and I hope that you will join me again next week where we'll have some more crafty fun. See you later.